I am almost done with my cigarettes. Probably a couple more days left. I'm just not going to buy any more. Is what is going to happen. I'm also enjoying the cold weather. Oh. And the day of comfort and rest. It's very quiet. I miss my dad a whole lot. My grandmother told me one of the first things she said when I came over and yesterday, and she said it later on too, she was like, I can't believe I forgot your birthday, okay, or that yesterday was my the day of my birthday and stuff, I'm like, it's okay, and she's like, if your dad was still here, he would have got up first thing on your birthday and came and got you. And I was like, I would like to think so too. It's a very powerful statement, because there's no way, first and foremost, that I could have sat here and thought of that on my own. I don't know. The way my mind works is like, I don't know what my dad would have been like, because he passed when I was 22. And he was not doing good. And he also it was just, it's a lot different for me because my dad was sick for a very long time. But I know my dad loved me very much. And I would like to think, that if he would have lived through the cancer, that he would have came out on the other side living more for himself, And I could see him being like that, you know? Because he would, like, get up, you know, first thing in the morning, and he was not a lazy man. He stayed going, especially when he had something to live for, you know, and he always did. Everybody in my family is extremely hardworking. There's no lazy people. Not one single person is lazy in my family. No matter what I think or feel about them. That's not a thing, you know. But I would very much like to think that something like that would have been the situation. I can see him being like that as an older man, because he was only 50 when he passed. And he was one of those people where he was, you know, felt much older than he really was. Because my dad was 30 when I was born. And, you know, I look back on him in the first couple years of my life, you know, and it was like he was 50 at 30. The way he dressed, like, you know. Those kind of things are really hard for me to process and understand. You know, I know that, you know, when I think of my dad, I'm like, I think about how much he would have enjoyed and been interested in what's going on in the world. You know, I think about him and the things that he wanted to do and the things that he liked to do. You know, my grandmother thinks about him. She thinks about, you know, what he could have done as a dad, you know, and the person that she wanted her son to be as a father. And that was really important to her. Ooh. Maybe I'll see a ghost on here. sitting here with the doing the live thing. It keeps flashing. Yeah, it won't be too much longer, I think, and I'm gonna stop doing the videos, the live videos. I think I won't have a need for them as much anymore. Now that I've got some things I'm gonna be doing. So that'll be very nice. It's really interesting, and this is how aware of myself I am and how finely tuned like things can be. But not believe, that's not a very good word, but like just how very much I know myself and how very, like, in a feeling way, you know. I can tell today that I'm on an antidepressant. Because, like, after seeing my family yesterday and today, like, I literally still, like, know what it is. And I haven't seen them in it's been a little over 2 years that I've been in a situation like that, and been around them in that way and stuff, and you know, sat down with everybody in one room and had those same conversations that I've been having my entire life, you know, again. And there's, you know, an expectance of, like, who I am, like, how I process things and how those things make me feel and stuff like that. And today, like, I can tell I'm on an antidepressant. It's like the camera's shaking, but I think it's just me moving my leg. I think that is so amazing. I mean, it's terrible, you know, when it comes to trauma and stuff, but there's a, you know, like throwing a rock, you know, in a still pond. You know, you expect those ripples, and like an antidepressant keeps you from rippling. You know, it's a type of pain medication, and it's very subtle, you know, but at the same time, like, we use that energy to guide us, you know, and that's one thing about medications, like psych medications or things that affect your psyche like that, that you do kind of have to, like, you know, be aware of, like, how they affect the mind. And, you know, but it's pretty well known that antidepressants make you a little numb, and that's the effect. But because, you know, I've been here, like, I haven't, you know, felt anything. But when I go over, like, with an emotional situation and stuff, like, I can feel, instead of me, like, you know, there isn't as much reactivity in me. And I'm really, really sensitive to that. You know, first and foremost, I notice it, so, you know, it's not a problem, but it can be a problem. I want a very, very low dosage too, but it it can be a problem, you know. like, especially in, like, you know, if I was doing a lot of creative work and stuff. Um, it's very similar to any type of, like, throwing your brain chemicals out of, like, you know, like, that's a natural thing, but, like, well, I mean, my brain chemicals and stuff like that were kind of out of whack because of seizures, you know, and like I would make my emotions like reactivity to it and whatnot and stuff. So, and that's why that is the end part of my treatment and like everything that I went through. I was like, you know, even at the beginning of last year, I was like, I know when I get done that I'm going to have to take an antidepressant, like, because I'm not just going to be able to be like, you know, and roll out. It's like rolling out of a carpet or something, you know, you're not just going to be able to lay there and get up and walk away. You know, it's like, I know I'm going to need something to help, like, keep me from, like, something there to, like, keep me from going, to shut the door, you know, to keep me from going back through the same type of neural pathways, like following those emotional, because it's very much like that. You know, like it's proven. I've posted some things over a period of time that, like, you know, different types of mental illness and stuff, like that's why their illnesses is like because they change the way your brain works and whatnot. You know, and so, um, you know, epilepsy in itself, like, is, you know, part of, bipolar is part of epilepsy, you know. And so that is very much what that is, you know. And mine, um, you know, like any kind of trauma that you have, like, you know, and my, you know, like whether it's thought or something that's physically happening, like seizures, you know, it's like you don't want to keep revisiting those pathways over and over again, like you, and so it's kind of like an electric fence a little bit, keeping the antidepressant in your system. So you don't do that. And also, like, it can be used as, like, so you know what's happening. Like, you know, for me, like, I'm really perceptive. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, today I feel very, you know, not very, but I mean, I feel dull, you know, and I'm tired and stuff. And I'm like, okay. It's part of that. So, yeah. Just wanted to do this for a second.